MrTLexify appears to have had his name cleared, judged by the internet's response to his most recent allegation. However, as I will outline throughout this video, I do believe there are several questionable elements within his defense, as well as examples of him potentially being misleading. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself though. Welcome to the Nightmare Blunt Rotation. Let me just start with, holy shit, this isn't one of the most convoluted allegations I've ever seen. I don't know what is. This allegation by far took the most time to look into, maybe only beat by the Ava Chris Tyson and Mr. Breast one combined. My only request is that you do not draw your own conclusions until the end of the video. If you have already decided your stance, as in you probably just watched the MrTLexify response video and nothing else, then I am 100% certain that you have not seen the full extent of these allegations. If you do not have the attention span for this entire video, please at least skip to the TLDR at this timestamp before you exit the video, as I do believe that the community has drawn the wrong conclusions. So without further ado, let's get started. Don't with the way. Please don't. MrTLexify, who I will just call Lex, is a Call of Duty Zombies YouTuber who has seen a considerable amount of success with 1.5 million subscribers. Arguably, his career was at its peak when it was in a massive upswing around 2016 due to the release and success of Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and its DLCs like Zombies Chronicles. This will be notable for a few reasons later, but it's worth establishing that much like some of the other individuals who will be mentioned in this video, it brought Lex the privilege of working personally with the Zombies development team, but more specifically Jason Blundell. Regardless, if you played the previous title, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, then you probably know the map Tranzit, in which a crackhead robot drives you around on a bus. Doesn't really matter if you don't, just know that recently in 2024, there was a community-led development team that were promising to recreate the map in a new engine. However, the project basically turned out to be a big off scam, as they received significant amounts of money but then never really delivered on promises. MrTLexify came in to defend this project, and it ended up pissing off a significant amount of the Call of Duty Zombies community, and so they began looking for dirt. Interestingly, they found some accounts that all seemingly simultaneously started tweeting about some accusations from Lex's ex, a girl called Reagan, or Pure Softy. Yeah, well, people began questioning Reagan, which led to her dropping allegations in the form of several tweets and 2 Word documents outlining claims that MrTLexify had been grooming and abusing her since she was 15 and he was 19, beginning in January of 2016. Reagan states this continued all the way up until this year, 2024, so for a total of 8 years. She outlines a bunch of wild shit, including several physical altercations, including 2 instances of being choked and tackled, alongside one-sided being pushed in the relationship by MrTLexify in order to satisfy his feelings of dating a minor. The videos are sickening, the evidence is pretty damning, and oh wait, what's this? A community note on Pure Softy's tweet that directs to a second document stating that the allegation has been debunked. In all seriousness though, I tried to come into this research as unbiased as possible, choosing to first look over Pure Softy's claim in a vacuum before I even touched MrTLexify's rebuttal, simply knowing that it existed and was supposedly pretty convincing judging by Twitter's response. First off, let me start by saying that Raygun sucks at formatting documents. Navigating this shit gave me brainworms, and I genuinely think more people would be questionable of Lex right now if she just formatted this better and included all of her evidence rather than these initial fragments. But hey, hindsight is 20/20, I guess. Secondly, I can pretty comfortably say that yes, especially the grab video is pretty unnerving to watch, assuming she isn't lying about dates, ages, and context. But disregarding that, just some of these claims that she makes were ridiculous even with the context that she herself provided. Explain to me how the statement, "I threw the broken tray at Lex's back out of self-defense," makes any sense. He has his back turned to you, he is not actively threatening you, so what makes throwing a broken tray at him self-defense? Furthermore, what's up with the claim about him finding young girls to groom on dating apps by using his Bumble profile strategically, making sure that his bio was about him being a famous YouTuber? She's trying to frame it as if he only put it in there because being a YouTuber appeals to young girls or because there's some kind of power imbalance, but what the else was he supposed to put in there? It's not like he's done anything else with his life. And trying to call that manipulative or abusing a power imbalance holds no weight because there's no evidence he ever offered any sort of career moves in exchange for favors or anything along those lines. Also, most importantly, the dating apps that he was using, such as Bumble, require you to be 18 to sign up anyway. There's also the messages Reagan included between Reagan's mother and Lex, in which it looks like Reagan had been misrepresenting the situation to her own mum, as Ray Gun's mother states to Lex, "I just call her and she said everything good between Lex and me." Additionally, just in general, all of these screenshots and messages feel like they're cut to obscure something else. I mean, don't get me wrong, Lex does this a bit in his response as well, but regardless, people initially thought that maybe evidence was falsified, such as this photo of suspicious texts that Ray Gun claims was sent from Lex's phone back in 2018 when she was 18. However, at the top right, you can see a 5G symbol, which wasn't even rolled out at the time. Let me just be clear, this is cope. You can see in other screenshots within the document, like this one or this one, that Ray Gun was filming Lex's phone in at least 2022 when 5G had been rolled out. Either way, these are supposed to be old texts from 2018, so it isn't exactly relevant when they were recorded. Additionally, Lex ended up confirming these photos of his phone's validity, so how is the minoring one any less so due to some 5G symbol, which these also have? What's absurd to me is despite the fact that this 5G defense is some half-baked rebuttal thrown out there by some random Lex glazers on the internet who didn't even read the document, this is one of the key pieces of evidence Lex presents in his video.
The text message of Reagan alleging myself calling her my minoring is false, as proven by people finding the 5G symbol on the phone when this was not invented at the time of the screenshot.
This is such a pathetic defense, disregarding the number of issues that I listed off already. Regardless, those reasons will come later, as this chapter is about Ray Gun. Looking at the part 2 of Ray Gun's document, the screenshots at the bottom don't even paint her in a good light. It looks as if she intentionally works Lex up off screen and then plays innocent in the screenshots. This is displayed by the fact that Lex is a fat simp of the messages and even says as much himself, yet Ray Gun continues to be somewhat abusive, masking it with the guise that it's justified due to being greedy. All the while, Lex seemingly just looks to disengage. Well, as you'll soon find out, if this case is as Lex paints it, ladies and gentlemen, this is a textbook example of why you don't, or do, I'm not going to judge, date Sanrio girls, as MrTLexify ended up responding by dropping a whole ass scroll of Snapchat messages, which kind of just left most people with the impression that he had a pay pic. Most notably, it did clearly depict Ray Gun being a as fuck, which he ended up elaborating on in a Google Doc and later in a video where he went into further detail. Subsequently, Ray Gun responded to Lex's defense while I was writing this with a 2-hour-long video of her own on August 31st, which notably had comments turned off. This is also why I didn't bother addressing every single claim in Ray Gun's document in this chapter, choosing to only point out the stuff that I thought was immediately obvious, as Lex does a pretty comprehensive response, and of course Ray Gun rehashes her own allegations later. This is a series first, the first instance of someone successfully passing the nightmare blunt of their accuser within the public eye. We shall have to see if it remains that way over the coming months. So without further ado, let's talk about Lex's defense and claims against Ray Gun. Lex opens by stating the various Twitter accounts that began making allegations about him initially when the Tranzit drama started were sent by Ray Gun herself, as Lex claims they had information that only she could have.
Everything started in July 2024, where people on Twitter began harassing myself about messaging someone named Alex. I have reason to believe that these were Reagan's minions she sent to do her bidding as she was under cease and desist. Alex was a fan of my channel, who had messaged me first because I momentarily opened my Twitter DMs to the public. Alex was the one who initiated the conversation with me. Our communication included a short Skype call, during which I discussed the abuse I was currently experiencing with my ex-girlfriend Reagan. The conversation was strictly and was never taken anywhere inappropriate. Alex was simply a kind fan that I confided in after a heated argument with my ex-girlfriend Reagan. Alex has also come out to admit that she has never accused me of doing anything wrong.
Obviously, it's already extremely odd to be dumping to a 13-year-old fan. Granted, I can understand wanting to vent to someone, especially considering he was supposedly in an relationship at the time, but a 13-year-old? Additionally, what I fail to understand is the framing he presents that Alex never accused him of any wrongdoing. If you look at Alex, aka Bearsoir's tweets, you can see that she is clearly not a Lex supporter, even going as far as to say that Lex continued contact with her months into 2018, well after she had already made clear that she was a 13-year-old. Which is something that Lex completely fails to mention. In fact, Lex implies that Alex herself never accused Lex of anything. It was just the Ray Gun associate accounts like SPP that were using info that only Ray Gun knew. This is categorically false. Not only did Alex claim that they continued talking well after Lex knew that she was 13, she also claimed that Lex stated that he wanted a friend in Ireland. I don't know why the he would ever befriend a 13-year-old fan under any circumstance. Did you miss that, by the way? These were public tweets from Alex. It's not information that only Raygun had access to. I could have found them by searching up MrTLexify 13-year-old or looking at MrTLexify mentions, which to me kind of implies that he was misrepresenting this evidence. Now, I actually went in contact with the 3 individuals that Lex named as Raygun's minions, specifically Renzaru, SPP, and DigDug7. I specifically asked them how they found the allegation and to what extent they had communicated with Raygun, if at all. DigDug7 did actually end up getting back to me on that, and it led to a mini rabbit hole of its own.
Yeah, Lord Crush, I got you. I'll check it out after the stream. Cool, thanks. No problem, Lord.
Here is some of what he said. DigDug states that he had uploaded a video in which he criticized Lex for stealing his and other people's videos from short-form platforms like TikTok and then just tweeting them out without providing credit. Within the video, DigDug provided evidence and also screenshots of DMs with Lex in which Lex basically just brushed them off. The video ended up getting 1K views, and subsequently one of Alex's friends reached out to DigDug and informed him of both Alex's situation in which she spoke to Lex when she was 13 years old over Skype, as well as the age difference between Lex and his ex-girlfriend Raygun. DigDug then reached out to Raygun, however, Raygun did not answer. Now, there is one really odd thing that I want to point out about this screenshot that Lex uses to address his interactions with DigDug. Here is the same DM from the same perspective at a different time and different battery level. That's right, this screenshot is from DigDug's perspective for some reason. This felt like one of those Gmod or GTA RP trolling videos where they show the admin the perspective of the person that killed them. So yeah, considering I have the original DM, of course I have the rest of the conversation. In my opinion, Lex does a couple of things in these messages, but none of them explain how or why he used DigDug's perspective for the DM screenshot. I mean, DigDug outright says in the last message before being blocked that he was willing to drop the issue, and he claims to me that the only place that he talked about this publicly was in his own Discord. Now, as for the messages and what we can establish about Lex from them, first off, and least seriously, Lex attempts to defend himself from the claims of stealing content by stating that he is just reposting memes that he finds funny. Bro, that is just a rephrasing of stealing content, but okay. The next thing Lex does is a lot more serious. He yet again outright admits to dumping to the 13-year-old Alex about his relationship with Raygun. One thing that is notable to me is that DigDug raises the new claim that Alex had to go to therapy because of her conversation with Lex when she was younger. It is just hearsay, but in my opinion, likely from the source, as if you recall, one of Alex's friends was supposedly the one to inform DigDug of the situation. This, however, was also in his last message before Lex blocked him, so Lex never addressed the claim. Considering how Lex seemingly obscured information alongside the way that he framed DigDug's involvement in the situation, i.e. being a minion of Raygun, I personally believe Lex provided a dishonest defense, as it does seem that the allegations spread naturally despite his claims otherwise. If Lex hadn't have stolen a bunch of zombies content creators' videos for some Elon Twitter dollars, then DigDug at least likely would have never been involved. DigDug additionally never had direct contact with SPP, Renzaru, or Raygun. That is, unless you consider Alex's nondescript friend one of General Raygun's lieutenants or some shit. That's not to mention the what I would call straight up lie he tells to DigDug when he states, "My ex and I were friends when we were both minors." Last I checked, 18 wasn't a minor in California or Canada, where, as I will establish, their relationship took place. Additionally, Lex does very little to refute any of the events in these DMs. He just disagrees with the more extreme labels that Raygun had been throwing at him, that being followed by threatening legal action. Oh, and here he is bitching about how no one will treat him like a person and reach out to him for a statement, treating him more like an object for views. Maybe that's because he will ignore, block, or threaten anyone who does. Don't believe just DigDug's testimony and screenshots? Well, what about Renzaru or SPP, who both separately claimed to me that being a minion of Raygun was just a lie or assumption that Lex made up, further clarifying that they had never once spoke to Raygun themselves. They were not willing to speak on it further, with Renzaru citing how dog shit the community is, which fair enough, I guess. I'm assuming he's referring to the assumedly numerous people that harassed the f out of them after Lex's video drop. Considering this claim, Lex pushes is seemingly dishonest, and he puts it within the first 2 minutes of his video, implying to me that he believes it is one of his stronger defenses. I have to ask, Why was Lex obfuscating and lying about this situation if he truly believes he is innocent? Additionally, what was the point of using Dig Dug's perspective of the DM? Was Lex just too lazy to scroll through his own DMs, and so he just used the screenshot that his Glazer spy and the Dig Dug server sent to him? I think MrTLexify is gonna need another quick revive, to be honest with you, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Let me at least finish Lex's side of the story. Lex then directly addresses the claims of him messaging minors off dating apps, raising the same point that I did about there being an age limit on the apps. Furthermore, he goes on to say that he has never targeted a girl for their youth and that he is currently dating a woman his own age. Another one of Raygun's pieces of evidence that Lex was inappropriately contacting minors was this video of him kissing the camera. Lex states that this was sent to verify his identity to a girl who did not believe he was the real MrTLexify. He also states that the reason the messages were off app was because Bumble did not allow videos to be sent. Probably most notably, however, the girl mentions that she goes to university, which kind of implies that she's not underage like Raygun is claiming. Lex then goes on to refute trapping Raygun in the relationship, displaying evidence of him saying that Raygun has always been free to go. This is snuggled in between countless messages of Raygun insinuating that he's trapping her through threats of killing himself, etc. Lex further alleges that he was only on the dating apps when him and Raygun had broken up, which happened numerous times. Furthermore, whenever Lex would begin dating a new woman, Raygun would contact them and tell them that he is an abuser. She was able to achieve this because she was stalking his Instagram follower list, apparently. Lex states that Raygun would ghost him for months at a time, only to return out of nowhere love bombing him, further claiming that this was because she was a covert narcissist. Now, I don't normally with psych terms being thrown around, but it is notable that Raygun used the phrase Stockholm Syndrome in her own claims, so I can't really blame Lex for throwing some back at her. Regardless, he then drops a shitload more DMs of Raygun being absurdly abusive and manipulative. What's crazy though, and I'd say the most notable part, is that Lex reveals that he had read and photographed a diary which included an entry from Raygun in which she detailed sleeping with a 17-year-old named Lawrence when she was 21. Supposedly, when Lawrence's parents discovered that Raygun was lying about being 17 herself, they kicked her out of the house, which led to Raygun cutting off Lawrence. This allegedly led to Lawrence hospitalizing himself after attempting to commit suicide. Of course, after this occurred, Raygun instantly reached back out to Lex and began love bombing him again. Welcome to round 2 of the relationship. Raygun's unhinged activities went to the next level, as she invited a bunch of underage dudes around to Lex's house to take promiscuous photos of her in exchange for What's even more demonic is that according to Lex, it was without his knowledge, as he was out of LA at the time tending to his dog passing away in Canada. What I'd like to note, however, is that Lex does not provide any evidence that Raygun paid for these photographs by well, other than stating that the photographs exist and she is broke. What if they were just taken for free by her friends? The burden of proof is on you when you become the accuser. Lex goes on to next address Raygun's claims of him cheating on her, which is supposedly what motivated Raygun to begin cheating on Lex. He makes it clear that he never dated or slept with another woman while he and Raygun were dating. Despite this, the same cannot be said for Raygun. Lex discovered that Raygun had been dating Lawrence since April of 2022, so for 6 whole months before Raygun revealed that information to Lex. Bear in mind, Lex and Raygun were in a relationship for the entire stretch of time. It was only after he looked through Raygun's diary and discovered after she had already broken up with Lawrence that it had even occurred. Lawrence supposedly wasn't the only individual that Raygun cheated on Lex with, the other being a guy by the name of Marlo. Allegedly, the whole reason Raygun began cheating on Lex was because she saw a photo of him next to a girl in Thailand. However, the girl was just a tour guide for the Labua State Tower and was acting as their navigator and translator. This post on her page is seemingly evidence of her unhinged thought process. I'd also like to note that apparently the only reason Raygun saw this photo is because she looked through Lex's phone without his permission. Supposedly, she has cheated on Lex with 4 or 5 other individuals, but Lex only has evidence for 2 of them, that being Lawrence and Marlo. Given her track record though, I don't really have a reason to doubt the 5 figure. Lex also claims that Raygun accidentally got his social media and computer hacked by trying to download free software. By the looks of the screenshot, it looks like a free XRP giveaway. Furthermore, Lex alleges that back in 2019, when he and Raygun were separated, he attempted to hit up other girls, which caused Raygun to go berserk, threatening to expose him to DJ Killer Keemstar. The rat has to worm his way into every story somehow.
Someone threatened me that I would never be able to leave the relationship, and if I did, she would expose me on Drama Alert or end my career.
Anyway, Raygun also extorted exorbitant amounts of cash from Lex until he filed a cease and desist against her, further stating this.
The extortion became severe as I had gone broke multiple times for her rent, lifestyle, and cheating on me with other men, which proves her claim of me simply being a pay pig false.
Raygun was trying to play the card that he had an addiction and pay pig, which he might, just judging by his Snapchat messages, but probably not to the extent where he's going into negative dollars. Although there is one instance where Lex states that he had to pay 12,000 Canadian dollars for a non-refundable Airbnb, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest with you. When they were staying there, Raygun's story is that they were in an argument and Raygun herself was sat on the couch rolling a joint when Lex stops mid-sentence to yell out, "And that's my weed, I paid for that," lunging forward and taking the tray out of her hands and fighting for roughly 5 seconds, which causes the tray to break. This is when the aforementioned instance of self-defense occurred, as she threw the broken tray at him when his back was turned. Supposedly, Lex turned around and tackled her with his hands around her neck, which she doesn't have evidence for other than some photos of her crying after the incident occurred. Now, Lex alleges that what really happened is she broke a wooden board on his back and then went on a manic episode, destroying the walls of the 12,000 Airbnb with the broken pieces of wooden board. He further clarifies that she did not have weed, as it was an Airbnb and they do not permit it. There's also the screenshot he got of the host stating that he's getting a quote for the wall repair, questioning how it happens, claiming that it looks like someone stabbed the wall repeatedly. One thing that I find particularly odd is the fact that underneath the crossed out text, you can clearly see something has been highlighted. As seen throughout his screenshots so far, Lex tends to only highlight stuff that helps his defense or narrative. So why has he retroactively gone and crossed this out? Regardless, supposedly when Raygun was stabbing the wall repeatedly, she threatened Lex's life, which caused him to restrain her for him and the property's safety.
In an act of self-defense, I had to restrain her to prevent further property damage and physical harm to myself as my life was under threat.
A month prior to this incident, Raygun had actually taken a fat bite of Lex's cheek after looking through his phone and believing that he was cheating. Raygun's claim was that it occurred in a play fight in which she accidentally bit him in fear, whatever the that means. Furthermore, she states that immediately after the fight, they turned the lights on and applied bandages together. Lex, however, states that this is completely false. He claims he applied the bandages himself, as Raygun was still furious at him for cheating, which Lex also claims he never did. Now is when it gets even more unhinged somehow. So Raygun's story is that she looked through Lex's phone and found that he had been contacting more underage girls. According to her, Lex angrily woke up and lunged at her, choking her out again, except this time he was screaming, "I'm going to kill you." Raygun says that it was only when she managed to get out the statement that her phone was hidden and recording the situation that Lex let go of her. However, even in her own document, she states that this was not true and it was just something she claimed to get Lex off of her. Raygun does notably provide evidence of Lex apologizing for choking her, as well as taking a play out of Alex's book by sending a letter for it. She packages in with a photo of a bruise on her knee, supposedly from the next morning. She claims was received in the scuffle when Lex knelt on her. Now, if we go to what Lex has to say about it, he basically just claims that she made the entire thing up. For example, the letter she used as evidence was allegedly forged by her, as shown by the fact that the text at the bottom that says CEO of Edited TV is incorrect because behind the scenes his company is called Velvet Platform LLC. Anyway, I don't really get that line of thought. I mean, the public name of his business is Edited.tv. And this is basically the equivalent of a post to your girlfriend, so I don't think he'd be intending on it being up to business standards. There is an alternative explanation offered by Raygun that we will address in a bit. He then shares a screenshot of Raygun attempting to extort him for a nose job in exchange for deleting the choking video in front of him. Bear in mind, she's already admitted in her own document that that video never existed. Still, she extorted him for cash as well by claiming that she had sent it to her mother. Lex alleges that the real incident was waking up to being physically assaulted by Raygun at 5 AM after she had looked through his phone and believed he was cheating on her with other girls. He states that the was so bad that he had to go on to restrain her again. It's odd to me that he paid her money in favor of this video, because even though it didn't exist, Lex clearly thought it did, and whatever was in it was bad enough for him to be extorted. Now, it's notable that at this point in time, they were not dating. Lex was just at her place helping her move and retrieving his belongings. According to him, it was only after being extorted by Raygun and being so broke that he couldn't afford a hotel room that he had to stay the night there. Lex states that it was out of fear that he continued to pay cash to Raygun. He elaborates that this was because he had attempted to explain the legality of their relationship to Raygun's mother. However, Raygun's mother did not believe him after Raygun had allegedly fed her lies. Lex states that a big motivator for Raygun supposedly fabricating these claims was the fact that Lex was scared enough to keep sending her money. However, he also notes that she never went to the police with any of these claims. As established, Raygun had already attempted to beat him to the being broke due to extortion claims, stating that he had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on OnlyFans, which I don't even know how the that would work. I guess there do be some mega gooners out there though. Probably the most damning part is that the aforementioned bruised knee photo from June 7th is allegedly taken in Raygun's old apartment, which they never went back to after June 6th. Lex was also supposedly flying home that day, and that was the last time they ever saw each other in person. Raygun, however, was claiming that Lex gave her the bruise on June 6th, and yet again, Lex had evidence to counter this. Specifically, he had taken numerous photos of the movers helped move all throughout the day and night of June 6th, indicating that 1, there was no time for such a physical altercation to occur, and 2, that the movers did not notice or make any issue out of any incident. Again, Lex has photos of Raygun mere days after the incident, and not one injury is visible on her. And he also shares that Raygun was in 3 separate car accidents throughout 2022 to 2023. Bro, I haven't even had one in my entire life, but am I even shocked when she has all these plushies hanging in the way of her windscreen distracting her? Regardless, Lex heavily implies that the bruise photo is from one of these incidents and not an alleged abuse. Additionally, you can see a similar looking bruise in her Instagram photos from well before, and there's a deleted tweet from 2022 in which she acknowledges a bruise on her leg to a fan.
The photo of her bruise does not make sense, as this could not happen from her claim of me kneeling on her. This bruise looks like a high-impact car crash.
No, it doesn't. I'm no doctor, but neither is Lex. Just looking at the photo, you can see that the bruising on the right kind of looks like the kneecap, and then the bruising on the left looks like the little knob under the kneecap. What I'm saying is that I could definitely see the bruising occurring if he knelt on her knee a bit like this. You can check it yourself if you relax your knee on a right angle. You will feel 2 knobs, not 1. Here's an example of it on my knee. Additionally, what part of the car's dashboard is supposed to bruise your knee like this when your supposed high-impact car accident looks like this? But anyway, Lex next goes on to address the allegations. The way he goes about this is by sharing screenshots of seemingly hundreds of email notifications for Raygun's DMs. Lex emphasizes that Raygun initiated by reaching out to him when she was 14, supposedly expressing her love for him before Lex even knew who she was, alongside lying about her age. Raygun claimed they first made contact when Lex offered to help her play Zetsubo no Shima, the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies map that I'm playing in the background. However, Lex displays evidence of her admitting to begging to join his lobby. Raygun's also claimed that Lex would be controlling, choosing her outfits, making them closer to that of a child than an adult. As per usual, Lex drops the Uno reverse and said that it was Raygun that was making him wear clothing, as supposedly evidenced by his Instagram, where he is wearing Lawrence's clothing in LA, because Raygun had apparently stolen it from Lawrence's house. Raygun also attempts to establish that Lex lured her in with gifts. However, Lex claims that they were actually items Raygun requested he purchased for her. One of those items, and a huge point that Raygun lent on, was the that Lex allegedly bought for her when she was underage.
Raygun says that I bought her a pair, which goes directly against my evidence of her friends purchasing this for her.
What evidence? The closest thing to evidence that Lex provided was screenshots of Raygun talking about how she wanted to and that she was doing drugs of her own accord. At no point do either of them manage to establish that the vase was purchased for Raygun by her friends rather than Lex, yet Lex claims he provided evidence for it. But anyway, let me reiterate, she really lent on this point. Like, she linked to the tweet and all. She didn't really do that with the rest of them. He also refused the 5G in much the same way that the public did, alongside the statement that he couldn't find the messages on his own phone. I just love the idea that he saw the screenshot and was like, fuck, did I send that? That's fuck. only to find it didn't exist. That's only if what he's saying is true though, bear in mind, as Raygun does actually have a relatively strong explanation for why that 5G symbol is there, as I will establish when we get to Raygun's response. Lex also attempts to clarify that the daddy was initiated by her, not Lex enforcing it in the relationship. Yeah, now it's time to talk about that grab video. Reagan states that it depicts Lex growing when she is drunk and underage at the Z house. That's the Call of Duty content creator house in which Raygun and Lex evidently initially lied about Raygun's age in order to get her into. Regardless, she further alleged that Lex forced her to give him after the video was taken. Lex refused this with a DM from Raygun later that year after the incident, in which she says, "My friends before me," which Lex claims implies that Raygun herself never had. Lex also attempts to clarify this.
She has provided no proof or documentation of any discomfort and then later asked when she could come and see me again. During the Z House party, when my friends first met Reagan, she had asked me to lie about her age. As seen in photos, she would constantly lie to people about her age and even admitted that when we first met, she lied and told me that she was 16. She also found it hot AF to date older guys and stated that at a young age she knew she wanted to be with an older man. Reagan never mentioned having a problem with our 2-year age gap relationship.
Mathematically, however, this does not add up. Throughout both Raygun and Lex's responses, the age gap has added up to a 3-year age gap. So although I'm sure there's periods of time where numerically they have a 2-year age gap rather than 3, it does not seem to be the majority of the year. There's also additional evidence presented by Lex of Raygun talking about how she always wanted to be with an older man and that she knew she would have to lie to Lex and the Z house in order for it to work. One of the pieces of evidence Raygun tries to present is an escape room passport in which she claims Lex lied about her age to create. Lex refuted this by stating that in order to even get one of those passports, you had to provide the establishment with your own ID, which means that Raygun supplied them with a fake ID. What's notable, however, is that the escape room allegedly had an age limit of 18, so Lex claims he even told Raygun to wait outside as he believed her to be 16. Lex additionally provides screenshots of Raygun sending the exact grab video to him in 2020, expressing her admiration for him and how much she missed him. Essentially, Lex is claiming that Raygun has never expressed discomfort with the video and even attempted to meet up with him after sending it. This was until she could potentially use as evidence of her abuse in a public allegation this year in 2024. From as much as 2 years prior in 2018, Raygun had been frequently stating that they had never slept together and that she was a virgin. Supposedly, it was Lex saying that they should wait, as well as displayed by her DMs to him in December of 2017. There are also these messages from December 17th, 2021, which are inarguably cringe. However, Lex is notably using the verbiage of best friend. Lex claims that Raygun only began lobbying the claims of Lex being a group after her relationship with Lawrence, which, if you recall, allegedly was a relationship in which she was a group and people. Raygun had claimed to Lawrence that when she and Lex had begun dating, Lex was an adult and Raygun was a minor. However, Lex claims that this was not the case. As previously established, Raygun would post photos of them together. However, this would upset Lex as he believed them both to be too young. Regardless, it is of Lex's belief that because Lawrence had the belief that yes, indeed, this was a pedophile relationship, he would give Raygun false ideas, as Lex alleges, that she would then use against Lex when she was upset with him. This is displayed by tweets from Raygun in which she stated that she began wanting to share her story in 2021, which is when she initially broke up with Lex because she was dating Lawrence. The most serious act, however, that Raygun accused Lex of was raping her. This claim Lex outright refutes, stating that everything was consensual and of age. He cites numerous DMs of Raygun talking about wanting to and how happy she was with him even after the alleged incident had occurred. Additionally, Lex claims that Raygun had a to do with the word rape, which he displays through showing her diary entries. You can read those yourself, I'm not going to aloud. I think it is worth noting that Lex claims his response was delayed by a few factors. Probably most importantly was that he was allegedly admitted to a mental institute due to a state caused by the relationship. It was in 2022 when Lex was on the verge of that he states he found God. Also, as previously stated, Raygun at the time of Lex's response had not filed any police reports. However, Lex had filed multiple, and there is supposedly an ongoing investigation into Raygun in regards to various incidents, including one that I haven't mentioned yet, where she verbally abused a stranger on the street who who then assaulted Lex. The injuries he sustained are visible here in this photo. Overall, the picture that Lex paints, which at the time of making is what the public runs with, he probably should not have engaged with either of his fans, Raygun or Alex, especially after finding out their age. However, as displayed throughout his messages, he appears to have been an emotionally vulnerable young guy who had never dated, and according to him, he was making an effort to be ethical and not at a young age, with Raygun leading not just the relationship, but the This is still weird as of Lex in my opinion, but it's a far cry from how Raygun described it. There is additional evidence of Raygun partying in Las Vegas after dropping her big alleged defamation bomb, which, if she is lying, is just so cartoonishly evil that I cannot help but find it funny. So yeah, in the public's eyes, bruh came back from red screen on round 200, no Juggernog pack or double tap. All I can really say is, I can fix her. To be honest, I have to wonder if anyone actually watched this video though. I still personally came out of it with the feeling that he was pretty weird for quite a few things that he himself admitted to, yet the public consensus was that he had done no harm. Anyways, before we get onto Raygun's response, I'm going to talk about how a few of the Zed House members talked about this allegation. It's notable that pretty much all of them came out with their statement before Lex responded, and they were very much on the side of Raygun. When responding to them, Lex does take accountability for lying about Raygun's age and apologizes to the Zed House members. However, he also specifically refers to Pat, aka The Smith Plays, and JC. Lex shares that not only had they cut contact and unfollowed him when Raygun decided to come out with the evidence and claims on social media, but that they outright ignored the evidence Lex presented to them that alleged he was the victim in the relationship and that Raygun had a 17-year-old when she was 21 plus. This is likely down to the belief that Lex had lied about Raygun's age to save his own hide. Despite this, to completely ignore the evidence presented by one of the parties in an allegation this serious and convoluted is already condemnable. But when you are also ignoring someone who you at least publicly treated as a close associate and friend, I'd say is extremely criticizable or telling of something behind the scenes. Are you fucking kidding me? In my opinion, even in the circumstance that he had inside information, I still believe that the various Zed House creators have handled the situation poorly, as they did not cut contact with Lex publicly or privately until it was convenient for their careers. This holds true for Pat, even if it's confirmed that Lex is in the wrong here, considering Pat stated that he only had access to as much information as us, the public. This is supposed to be Lex's best friend, and when equipped with the same information as hundreds of thousands of people who believe Lex, Pat seemingly didn't even read through all the evidence as claimed by Lex. In regards to JC, Lex did attempt to get some kind of revenge on him. He went about this with screenshots of vague vindictive notes written by Raygun addressed to JC's girlfriend Emmy, in which she details how JC cheated on Emmy with Emmy's sister. I initially saw this as Lex using it as evidence of why Raygun isn't to be trusted, and it's odd that JC trusted her so readily over Lex. Although questionably, he makes the decision of going after JC's sponsor, PlayStation.
I don't think PlayStation Studios wants to associate with the cheater who defends such as my ex-girlfriend Reagan.
Considering the context that Lex and JC were supposedly extremely close friends before Raygun came out with that allegation, I can understand this kind of bitter comeback. However, I do not like the precedent it sets. It's also notable that a lot of people refuted the claim as a whole, stating that they did not witness JC flirt with Emmy's sister.
Lex told his audience that our friend JC cheated on his girlfriend Emmy with his girlfriend's sister at Coachella. Lex said this about someone who he once called a close friend. JC's family has welcomed Lex into their home multiple times. Every single person who was at that Coachella this year can tell you that this never happened.
Oh, and I know I framed it as if JC had released a public statement before Lex could even respond, but that's just because it's how Lex framed it. JC never and still hasn't released a public statement on Lex's allegations. In fact, Raygun leaked a bunch of DMs that showed Lex about JC behind the scenes, seemingly before any of these allegations had even come to light. So, vitriolic revenge targeting sponsors for what exactly? Being cut off behind the scenes? I don't know. My best guess is that Lex thought it would be extraordinarily damning if another one of his public close mates came out against him, and he seemingly didn't particularly like JC in the first place. So, due to JC allegedly privately trying to distance from Lex after the allegation came out, Lex attempted to preemptively discredit him. If true, this is pathetic and just more evidence of how vile and manipulative Lex is. Even in the hypothetical instance where Lex knew for a fact that JC was going to go public with his views against him, why attempt to discredit JC with some cheating allegation that is seemingly entirely fabricated by Raygun, instead of providing an actual substantive defense for Lex's own allegations? Probably because there isn't a substantive defense. The closest he gets to that is when he is twisting uncontextualized messages to support his narrative that he has been victimized by his 15-year-old fangirl. Oh yeah, and speaking of JC, a viewer of mine, Jaden Carter, sent a clip to the Discord, join link in the description, that aged like fine wine.
When you think of your stereotypical anime, what do you think of? Mechs and hot chicks.
Nah, give me that.
I understand that Diva's 16 years old. We figured this out in the last video that we were just recorded.
I thought she was 15, dude, but like
All right, look, I thought
16's
she
a
was-
little bit better, but that's a no-go.
Look,
That's a no-go.
I thought she was older. I'm not into that, but I'm just saying she's a.
He went into the thigh section.
They obviously her, okay? They obviously made her like a very pretty character. And what do you see in animes? You see chicks and mechs fighting. Watch her on Earth.
No, but seriously, remember that time when we were gonna make a smasher pass on
We were gonna make a smasher pass, and then we just realized that Diva's not even of age.
Yeah, and Diva got an upskirt shot. You can look up. You can look up her.
You better choose your words very carefully, because like you're on a fine line. At this point.
You can look up her stats. You can.
Hey, at least she has leaderboards, unlike some games.
Oh, dude, we're going to jail. We're going to jail.
Yeah, possibly Lex, although it isn't going to be because you were gooning to upskirt shots of the 16-year-old character Diva. I originally just added this clip because I thought it'd be funny with the newer context. However, I'd also like to note the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, Lex was dating Raygun when this video came out. Yet, here he is joking about Diva being 15 to 16 and how it's bad to her. Meanwhile, his real-life girlfriend is the same age. Anyway, back on track. Overall, it seems extremely odd that Lex tried to bring these other people down with him using the guise that it was to defend himself from an allegation. Sure, these people may have backstabbed you, but what relevance is JC's cheating allegation or the other Z House allegation that I will talk about in the next video? Also, remember how I brought up Jason Blundell at the beginning? It was really just to point out how ungrateful and closed-minded this Lex fella is. Here are some DMs Raygun leaked of Lex talking about Jason Blundell ditching him when Jason was fired from the Zombies development team. Bro, Jason Blundell didn't owe you shit, but he still gave you so many opportunities that many other people would have loved to have had. It's not Jason's fault that Lex is too petrified of trying to go into different content or niches because he's scared of the viewer count hit. It's not Jason's fault that Lex is so uncreative he's been making the same slop content for 11 years. Sorry, making is generous, because it's not just the Twitter memes that he steals, he also rips ideas from any Zombies creator that gets a shred of relevancy. Anyway, I'm not here to criticize his content though, I'm more just trying to draw attention to his mentality and inability to accept fault for his actions, choosing to obfuscate with some probable bullshit or emotional appeal. Speaking of, I wasn't going to go into Lex's faith in God in any capacity originally, however, clearly there are a lot of people swayed by the sentiment, and it does kind of tilt me how he contradicts himself.
I would also like to publicly clarify that I'm not using Christianity as an excuse for me using self-defense and messaging other women.
Okay bro, that's why in your next sentence you go on to say that you found God because of the that Raygun had done to you.
Having attended Christian schools throughout my entire life and leaving only after high school to focus on my YouTube career, my return to Christianity was deeply personal and rooted from a challenging experience I had in 2022. At this time, with all the lies, extortion, and mental abuse I endured from my ex-girlfriend, which was also severely and negatively damaging my mental health. One night at the top of my old apartment building, the pain I was living in was too much, and which brought me to the brink of a very tragic and permanent decision. It was during this incredibly emotional time that I rediscovered my faith. I'd like to apologize to anyone that felt that I used Christianity to justify my past relationship and for any derogatory comments I may have made.
Well, that's why you stuck this bizarre low-resolution image of a rock saying some holy shit at the end of your video. It's fine to add this element into your defense, but don't simultaneously claim that's not exactly what you're doing, while also apologizing for doing so. You yourself, Lex, have stated that this relationship was a huge part of your religious awakening. He's got himself a trifecta here. He's simultaneously claiming that he didn't use it as a defense, he's using it as a defense, and he's apologizing for using it as a defense. Anyway, it's time for Raygun's response. He's like, stolen my jacket, see? As established, Raygun ended up releasing a 2-hour-long response video, which opens up with her stating that she had gone to the police and gotten lawyers, who recommended that she went to the cyber police. I just thought that was a post meme, to be honest. I did not know there were cyber police, or rather, I didn't know they were referred to as cyber police. Regardless, the comments were notably turned off, and she questionably made the decision of including child abuse material.
What is she? I don't know if she's gonna show. Hold on. I'm so scared about what she's putting up on the stream. 1 second.
First me through penetration. He put me at the Sheraton Gateway, Los Angeles, and he even confirms this himself in a Twitter DM to me. I'd like to add a trigger warning before showing this image because it shows a child being raped. It shows
Jesus Christ! What?
mine and Lex's faces. In this image, you can see 19-year-old Lex, Adrian Iwan, sucking on my 16-year-old brother.
Why would you put these in a video? What the fuck? It's blurred, but like, I'm pretty sure this is child. What are you doing?
I don't know what the fuck she was thinking, to be honest with you. Even if she was telling the complete truth, to then go and release child abuse material that could even be classified as revenge child material, it's just so absurd to me. I mean, there's the classic phrase of 2 wrongs don't make a right, but this is extreme. The statutory allegations are bad, but confirmably distributing child material is outright illegal. I didn't originally feel comfortable watching the video, however, censored versions have now been released. I don't know whether to thank the dude who censored it, considering he watched through a 2-hour-long video containing child material. But yeah, anyway, considering it's already been alleged that Raygun has falsified evidence, everything should be taken with a massive grain of salt. However, Raygun does refute the claim that she falsified evidence, and to be honest with you, she would have to have been working double time to falsify the quantity of DMs she comes out with. Raygun first presents the allegations of grooming, specifically alleging that she was in contact with Lex when she was 15 and Lex was 18. Throughout the video, Raygun attempts to make abundantly clear with screenshots and all that it is of her belief that being young was actually a turn-on for Lex, re-alleging that Lex would supposedly go as far as to encourage her to wear, and I quote, young and cutesy outfits instead of adult woman outfits. If true, this is obviously, shall I say, a degenerate to be pushing on your at most 16-year-old girlfriend. Raygun continues stating that Lex was dishonest about the gift giving as well, not the STD kind. Raygun elaborates that she herself shied away from gifts, with Lex offering PlayStations, trips to Disneyland, etc. Apparently with the side motivation of using it as a tax write-off because they were outside of Canada. I find it kind of hard to believe that she wasn't at all interested in receiving those gifts, so it seems pretty odd to me that she paints it in such a light. This will be a continuing theme throughout her videos. She tends to paint everything in the absolute worst possible way. Raygun further defends herself from the images that Lex used to claim that she was leading these themes in the relationship, stating that they are just signs of her being groomed. I'd also like to mention that although she states that Lex was the one who taught her stuff and pushed these themes in the conversation, Lex has already provided evidence that she was Lex before even coming into contact with him. The most serious evidence that Raygun presents is a series of DMs and images that allege numerous. In particular, she states that the aforementioned tip grab video was taken before she got orally. However, her evidence of this oral is the hickeys on Lex's neck. Hickeys she supposedly gave him to prevent a... I don't know what the f that means. She claims that she didn't know what hickeys were. I think it's worth clarifying that when Raygun says I believe she is referring to statutorily, or possibly being under the influence. I don't know, probably both to be honest. Additionally, I'm fairly certain she is referring to hickeys as which is insane to me. I mean, you can judge for yourself.
The first time Lex raped me was when I was 16 years old, and in my first Google document that he never addressed, I go into detail about how Lex orally raped me multiple times at the Z house, even when I told him no. Lex would beg me over and over until I eventually gave in, leaving me to feel guilty with myself. Lex wouldn't take no for an answer, and at this point, I was 16 years old and Lex is 19 years old. Lex would get me high and drunk and then take me into the room at the end of the night with him. The first time I ever got drunk with him is when I recorded these videos at the Z house. Lex claims I look happy in these videos, but I'm incredibly intoxicated. Lex says that no one at the Z house saw any her, which is a ridiculous point to stand by because obviously I was not getting in front of everybody. I was getting behind closed doors. One night, Lex tried to me and he wouldn't take no for an answer, so I stopped him by giving him dozens of hickeys all over his neck to prevent him from going down on me. The next morning, all of his content creator friends made fun of us because they noticed all the hickeys on Lex's neck. We all went to dinner together at Buffalo Wild Wings, and his friends continued to make jokes about how Lex looked like he got mauled because of all the hickeys on his neck. The jokes are really humiliating and embarrassing for me because I was a child and I didn't know what was. I didn't know that hickeys would do that or would look like that.
Raygun outright states that the grab video was recorded before she was already raped, but then goes on to explain how she prevented the rape with hickeys. So was the grab video recorded before she was already raped, before she prevented the rape with hickeys, or does she just consider hickeys as well? She's trying to manipulatively negatively load her terminology so much that it is catastrophically backfired. Anyway, another interesting image that Raygun presents is evidence that her and Lex first cooled on August 31st, 2016 when she was 15, and that they first on August 31st, 2017 when she was 16, which is an incident that will be addressed momentarily. Raygun claims that the rape that Lex said she had is false, citing images of DMs Lex allegedly sent stating that he was going to rape her. It's also notable that she includes numerous images of Lex seemingly sending extremely messages, including mention of unsolicited dick pics throughout 2018. Additionally, she provides more evidence of Lex talking about specifically referring to the hotel, which, if true, is pretty dishonest of Lex, considering he tried to frame it as if he stayed away from all the stuff until she was of age, specifically December 13th, 2018, which in itself is a weird concept and does sound like grooming, but hey, I guess people didn't give a shit about that. If you recall, there are screenshots of Raygun stating that she wanted to on her birthday when she was legal, which she does not address, but regardless, Raygun alleges that Lex statutorily raped her at the Sheraton Gateway Hotel, Los Angeles, which is when she showed the child material, which is now thankfully censored. Judging by Destiny's reaction though, what Raygun claims the image depicts is accurate, that being pink Polaroids of a 19-year-old Lex on a 16-year-old Raygun's. I never want to say that sentence again. In order to prove she was 16 at the time, she shows a Snapchat that is from the date Lex stated, August 31st, 2017, which is also interestingly the same day and month she originally uploaded this video. Was she trying to post this on the anniversary of what she describes as her... Bear in mind, the video was taken down for, dare I say, obvious reasons, so the current upload date is a couple days delayed. That seems so bizarre to do, but it's also an absolutely absurd coincidence if not intentional, so I kind of have to assume it is. Anyway, the photo is supposedly of her in the hotel's bathroom. I've looked at Sheraton Gateway hotel bathrooms on Google Images and I can find ones that look similar, although not an exact match. The most important part of the image though, according to Raygun, is the fact that her hair is naturally colored, which she claims to have only had when she was a minor, and is also additionally visible in the pink Polaroid photos depicting child material that she also claims Lex still has in his possession. If this is true, that means Lex not only still possesses child material, but that he was intentionally dishonest about the date that he and Raygun first fought, as he claimed it happened after she turned 16 on December 13th, 2018. This is almost a whole year and a half later, although I will note that she does not address the DMs of her stating that she was saving sex with Lex until she was legal. Regardless, there's also this interesting claim from Raygun.
Despite trying to make it seem like I'm a sexually charged person, my friends and people who know me know that I am not a person at all. Most of my friends know that my experience with Lex was really bad, that it turned me asexual.
I mean, it's possible if the alleged trauma from this relationship is real. However, it does make me consider the extremely charged private diary entries that she's already acknowledged were hers and the numerous DMs. You know what, Nagi? Stop. Stop. Somewhat entertainingly, this statement was almost directly followed by her stating that Lex could not make her orgasm, using it to refute this DM. Another important claim that Raygun addresses in regards to the fake ID that Lex claimed she had. As with everything else, she made it a no you by providing evidence of Lex talking about wanting to get a fake ID so he could drink alcohol in the US because he was 19 and the legal drinking age is 21. Shame. She does, of course, pair this with the claim that he did this in order to sleep with her at the age of 16 in California. Additionally, going as far as to claim that Lex buying her weed and alcohol was actually a premeditated attempt to get her addicted to them so that he could manipulate her more. I mean, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It just, again, kind of seems like she's trying to frame it in the absolute worst way possible, throwing anything at the wall and seeing what sticks. If you recall, Lex stated that Raygun had to provide her own fake ID in order to get the escape room passport. However, Raygun refutes this by claiming that there was no age requirement at the escape room, citing their website as evidence. Additionally, she claims that Lex made the passport so that she was born in the same year as him, despite the point that they allegedly didn't check for ID. Lex's claim that he sent Raygun outside because she was underage is refuted by Raygun, stating that this is not true and everyone who was there can attest to this. Also, in regards to the Z House stuff and lying about age there, Raygun states that they were at a dinner one time when Noah J456, who I've intentionally been avoiding mentioning this entire video, ended up asking Raygun what her age was, which prompted Lex to spout out that she was 18, lying to everyone. Lex has already admitted to lying about Raygun's age and apologized to the Z House members, so I don't necessarily doubt it, although he never confirmed this specific incident. It will be interesting to see if Noah J456 ends up confirming this, although he could have ulterior motives to do so, as I will address in the next video. Anyway, Raygun follows the Z House stuff with the claim that this screenshot regarding lying about her age, which Lex contextualized as lying to the Z House, is actually in regards to lying to Lex's mum about Raygun's age, claiming that she was some non-specific age older than 19, which would be false as shown by the date of the DMs, that being 2020. Much later in the video, she elaborates on this more, displaying screenshots of Lex talking about how his mother disliked Raygun. Raygun directly refutes ever lying about her age, which, again, Lex has provided evidence of her doing in the past, even if it wasn't necessarily in this context. For example, to Lawrence and his parents. Regardless, her evidence for this is the fact that the grab video in the Z House is from 2017. Now, if you recall, I wanted you to retain a couple key things. That would be in regards to the 5G evidence and the June 6th incident.
In his video, Lex lies and says that the screenshot I posted in my Google document of him talking about having underage sex with me, saying that I will be his minoring forever, is fake. Lex claims that this image is fake because it has 5G internet connection and that 5G internet didn't exist in 2018, which is the date at the end of our conversation. What Lex doesn't know is that I actually took a video of our text messages and I didn't only have a screenshot or a image of him saying that. I have it on video. I took this video of our conversation from 2018 last year on June 3rd, 2023. 5G has existed since 2019. I took this video of our conversation because in the moment that I found it, I didn't recognize my old phone number and I thought that I had caught Lex texting another minor and talking about having sex with her. I thought I caught him another underage girl just like he did to me. But in reality, I found text messages of Lex texting an underage girl that was me. Kinda ironic how that happened. That conversation is probably one of the last conversations we ever had as I was a minor, which is why he wanted to keep it. It's one of the last times I let him take advantage of me while I was a child. Lex says that this phone number also, that he can't find it or that he can't find these messages. Lex also confirmed in his own Google document that this was my old phone number by including this screenshot of him texting me on my old number. The screenshot he provided even has a date of the conversation going back to September 20th, 2018. The video on my phone that I provided also goes down to October 2018, meaning that I am 17 years old in both pieces of evidence provided by Lex and myself. In Lex's video, he claims that he cannot find any of the text messages between him and my old phone number relating to the minoring and the 5G accusations. But once again, Lex makes a mistake by, in a separate section of his video, towards the end, confirms that he's lying about not being able to find these messages, because Lex shows another unbefore-seen text message of the same old number of mine. Lex showed this image of the same old number, meaning that whatever is said in this conversation is me as a minor, and it was one of the last few things that I said to Lex as a minor.
She didn't lie about that aspect. Lex does indeed have screenshots in his video and document that include the number. The only thing that doesn't make sense to me is the timeline. did she find them a whole 3 days before she informed Lex that she had found them by attacking him, which resulted in the June 6th incident? If you recall, Raygun also tied the bruise to the June 6th incident. However, Lex claimed that she faked the dates on the images as they weren't in the house visible in the photo at the time. The thing is, Raygun really trapped him with this one. Just look, here's how Lex addressed the situation.
In regards to the photo of her bruised leg, these photos are fake, as at the time we were moving from one apartment complex to another. Reagan claims this event took place on June 6, 2023, with the photo being taken on June 7, 2023. I had taken a picture of movers spending the entire day and night on June 6, the supposed event of physical moving our stuff from her old apartment into the new one. On June 7th, we were also not in our old place where she took this photo of her bruised leg. There was no time for any of these accusations to have taken place, and if something did occur, the movers would have noticed.
Well, this is the new version of the photo that Raygun shows to disprove this. Notice anything? Here's the old one. Yeah, that's right. For some reason, she initially censored the location. However, as shown by Lex's own images, this is indeed their old place. She then further busts balls by saying, "Teehee, my mistake, the actually happened on June 3rd, not June 6th, and I just took the photo on June 7th. If that's true, then Lex's point about the movers is completely redundant. However, it is notable that Raygun originally claimed that she took the photo the morning after the alleged occurred. But regardless, she claims that everything else about her initial story is correct. Raygun then shows an image of them together on June 7th, the day that Lex alleged that he took flights to escape her. Note that the photo is taken at 10 a.m. and the flights are at 5 p.m. So it is still possible for both Lex to have taken those flights and for the photo to exist at that time. Now, as for the car accident in 2022 that Lex claimed actually caused the bruise on Raygun's knee, which would imply that she faked the date on the photo, Raygun claims that it is absurd for Lex to be implying that she had a bruise for a year and a half, but acknowledges that she had a car crash in May of 2022. However, she further alleges that Lex falsified evidence here as well, with him citing a DM referring to a different car crash, which is just reminding me how convoluted this all is. What even is the point of using a tweet reflecting on a different car accident to fake this defense if this is true? Lex claimed that he wasn't present for any of the car crashes, I guess to absolve himself from responsibility. I don't know. Either way, Raygun presents evidence that he indeed was and lied about this. Yeah, this could literally be anyone in that passenger seat. The resolution is so dog shit. But this is paired with the claim that Lex's photo of the incident is his because, as Raygun alleged, he was there. Anyway, Raygun also presents evidence that she did not have any bruising on her knee in the days before the incident. I thought that all Raygun had to prove when it came to this claim was that she wasn't falsifying evidence, but yet again, we got another Uno reverse, as we found that Lex was allegedly falsifying evidence. As for the apology letters being falsified, Raygun does not provide any further evidence, just questions why she would write a 2-page document in order to accuse Lex of assaulting her and not put his name on it. To that, I have 2 things to say. Number 1, she does have a point. Her capacity to write is severely diminished unless she's extorting someone for money, I guess. Secondly, Raygun does already have other DMs which are evidence of Lex apologizing for choking her. And Lex was provably scared of the imaginary blackmail video. So to go the extra mile to create a document that Lex could poke holes in seems a bit redundant. But then again, it wouldn't be her only decision lacking in logic. As for the Velvet LLC claims, Raygun states that that company did not even exist yet, and Lex had already been planning on naming the company Edit.tv, citing the fact that it was launched under that name a year later. There was also the apology letter sent with the flowers that Raygun attempts to prove was real by pointing out that there is still leftover text from the flower delivery service at the bottom of the page. In regards to the falsifying evidence claims, I think it's pretty safe to say that as much as Raygun makes some seemingly redundant points and obfuscates a bit still, she has cleared enough suspicion that you can't exactly just write off every single one of her claims as falsified like I've seen a lot of people doing. Upon establishing her side of the falsified claims narrative, Raygun went mega hard on calling Lex a restating that all the cutesy daddy mannerisms was all taught and enforced on her by Lex since she met him at the age of 15. This leads into her claims that when she began to get older, Lex would target younger women. If you recall, Lex claims that he is currently dating a woman his own age, so I don't think this is a pattern of behavior. But I guess he could be just making that up. At this point, he knows. Raygun continues by clarifying her point about the dating apps, stating that Lex specifically targeted people who were freshly 18. Raygun then shows footage of Lex interacting with a girl on Bumble, the contents of which we will talk about in a second. What is most important is that this is clearly Lex's phone in the video, unless Raygun initially decided to match with her own Bumble account to fake these messages, which Lex never claimed happened, despite the fact that these messages were in Raygun's initial claims. In regards to the contents of the messages, well, yeah, Lex is very clearly spamming out paragraphs upon paragraphs of borderline love confessions, which is frankly quite odd considering it's the first interaction on a dating app, but it isn't criminal. Raygun, however, claims that this is Lex's method of grooming. Notably, the conversation between the Bumble girl and Lex moved off on a Telegram, so Raygun attempted to reach out to the Bumble girl in order to see if she could provide screenshots of her conversations with Lex. However, apparently Lex had deleted his side of the conversation. What stands out as particularly odd to me is the fact that Raygun cuts out the username at the top of the Telegram messages, despite the fact that it's still visible within the Bumble messages. So I reached out and shared this to say, I mean, I don't think it's indicative of anything, to be honest. I just cold messaged this woman and I didn't really expect her to open it, let alone respond with one DM. I can also see why Raygun says the display name at the top of the Telegram messages because it isn't reflective of the one that you used to contact her. We have at least confirmed someone is behind the Telegram account that the Bumble girl mentions as her own. Regardless, this is one of Raygun's 3 examples of 18-year-old girls that Lex has allegedly targeted, the second being a girl by the name of Daniela. Daniela is the girl in these text messages. Lex tried to explain it as he had just matched with Daniela on Bumble and she had her phone number and birthday in her bio. Well, Raygun just kind of says, no, this isn't true, but doesn't really provide any evidence or reaffirming claims other than this is a part of a pattern and what girl puts their phone number and birthday in their bio. I have seen girls put social media accounts in their bio, but yeah, phone number is a bit extreme. The third individual is a girl by the name of Megan, who Lex supposedly reached out to when she had just turned 18, although the only evidence is a DM she had received, which she did not seemingly respond to. Nope. That was a close one. Now it's time to talk about the allegations that Lex lobbied against Raygun, or more specifically, having statutorily 5 underage dudes in exchange for photos, the incidents with Lawrence and Marlo, the emotional/physical claims, and the blackmailing/extortion claims. Raygun refused these statutory claims by using Lex's logic, stating that if there were victims, they would have already came forward, as Lex's video has 2 million views and had been up for 3 weeks as of Raygun's video release. She notes that although Lex tried to use this line of argumentation, there were already 2 alleged victims that had come out against him, that being Alex and herself. Raygun also makes the notable point that to refute cheating allegations from 2019, Lex cites images from 2023. If you recall, initially, Lex claimed that Raygun cheated on him because she had found an image of him next to a tour guide in Thailand when he was there for summer in 2018. This is when Lex further alleged that he went back to Canada to tend to his dog, which is when Raygun ended up inviting around 5 underage dudes to in exchange for promiscuous photos. Well, Raygun refutes literally every single piece of what I just said. First off, Raygun provides evidence that Lex did not spend the entire summer in Thailand, only a fraction of it, with the rest allegedly spent Raygun, with her citing images of them together throughout July and June of 2018. It's of Raygun's belief that Lex wanted to misrepresent this as to not admit that he had been his underage girlfriend the entire time, as if you recall, Lex heavily implied that the first time they was when Raygun turned 18 on the 13th of December 2018. Now, in regards to the 5 underage guys, Raygun further alleges that Lex did not leave the country to tend to his dog. It was actually because his visa is running out as he is Canadian. Furthermore, allegedly the photos that Lex uses to make this point are actually of Raygun with her adult college friends. However, Lex claimed this depicted minors. Supposedly, this text that is now seemingly confirmed by Raygun to be from one of her friends, talking about how Raygun had cheated on Lex, was misinterpreted by Lex as they never indicated that Raygun had gone with minors. Now, as for the claims that Lex brought up about her offering for the promiscuous photos, well, Raygun calls the accusation heinous. I assume she meant heinous. As I've already established though, just because the photos exist and Raygun is broke does not mean that she paid for them with something else. The photos very easily could have been taken for free by her friends, and Lex provides no evidence otherwise. Comically, directly after this segment, Raygun morally grandstands for way too long about how disgusting it is that Lex included her friends in the drama and didn't blur their face, which I just have to say, Raygun, you are not one to speak. You included child material in the same video. Raygun continues stating that she is the same age as Marlo and that all of the evidence and tweets of her with Marlo are from 2018 when she was 17. Furthermore, she presents this screenshot, which did she take this in God's resolution 640 by 480? Anyway, she establishes the point that if she was 17 at this point in time, then Lex is acknowledging that he was dating a minor, which, yes, we knew that already, but also alleges with this screenshot that she was simply updating her adult boyfriend on what her and her high school friends were up to and not cheating on him, which doesn't really explain the images of her in bed with this Milo guy, but whatever. The key point here is that Lex framed this high school relationship as which it most certainly is not. There's also the irony that Lex is basically using the high school relationship defense for his own allegations, but regardless. Now, she may not have slept with minors in regards to Marlo or when Lex was back home in Canada. I mean, she definitely cheated on him with a few people her own age, as she herself admitted in her own deleted tweets. But for her to act like Lex has no evidence of her sleeping with minors is extremely disingenuous. Not once does Raygun directly mention her diary entries within this video, which she has already confirmed were hers with a now deleted tweet. That's absurd to me to not even directly address them. In case you forgot, they depict Raygun writing about being and making love to the 17-year-old Lawrence while she is 21, nearing on 22, alongside lying about her age to both Lawrence and his parents. It does get indirectly mentioned in a video when she attempts to call Lex a stating that he imagined all these interactions between her and Lawrence when she was dating him for 2 months after meeting him at the pool she worked at through a co-worker. But in the messages, you can see Lex questioning the shit he read in her diary, and she's just like blah blah blah. Despite this, Raygun states that she did not immediately start dating Marlo as she was with Lex at the time, further alleging that the photo on her Instagram that she claims Lex used as evidence of her relationship with Lawrence existing since April, or 2 months before Lex was informed, is from when she was introduced to Lawrence through a co-worker in July. But like, what the f? Who posts their new friend they just met like this? It's kind of weird. Also, that wasn't even the evidence that Lex used to prove that. He used a diary entry in which Raygun wrote about her 1-year anniversary with Lawrence being in April of 2022, which again, Raygun just seems to want to wipe from history. Raygun also insinuates that the claim of lying to Lawrence's family about her age is actually rooted in the allegation of lying to Lex's mother about her age. So she basically just says it's projection, which I'm pretty sure she confirmed this part in her diary. The oddest point of all to me is the way that she tries to reframe or just straight misunderstands Lex's description of her relationship with Lawrence. If you recall, it was pretty clear in this text that Lex was implying it was all of Raygun's antics that drove Lawrence to attempt suicide. However, Raygun comically frames this argument as if Lex was trying to say her aforementioned car crash in early 2022 was the sole cause of the aforementioned suicide attempt, proceeding to morally grandstand over Lex trivializing someone's attempted suicide when he himself claims to have done the same, followed by her over-explaining the car crash for like 2 minutes, going as far as to even claim it was a city f***up with them having 2 green lights running at the same time. This is just such a bizarre and obvious attempt at manipulating the narrative that I just couldn't help but bring it up. Even if the city did miraculously f*** up and cause your car accident, how in the f*** is any of this relevant? This seems like the weakest attempt to redirect from the allegation that she literally did the exact same thing she is accusing Lex of, that being statutory rape, which she admitted to in her own diary. Just when I thought I had an idea of what the f*** was going on, Raygun out of nowhere refutes the claim that she stabbed Lawrence upon breaking up with him. How in the f*** did I miss this? I might just be tripping, and please do comment if I am, but did she just mega self-report? I genuinely do not know when Lex accused her of stabbing her ex, yet she refutes the claim anyway. I couldn't find it in the transcript anywhere, and I don't remember it. What are you screaming at, bitch? What, man? You just screaming in the void? Regardless, Raygun emphasizes that Lex was attempting to tarnish not just her own, but Lawrence's reputation as well, by attempting to frame him as a, and I quote, psycho. Those are her words, not mine. She additionally claimed that Lex was allegedly jealous of them dating. Little stop it. Furthermore, Raygun alleges that Lawrence and the various other people involved in this case have not come forward with their own accounts. Raygun states this is because they are scared of Lex because he allegedly doxes people, which I haven't seen before. I think she honestly might just be referring to how Lex didn't censor her friends' faces. Additionally, Raygun presents evidence of Lex threatening and you know Corp's husband? Out of nowhere, Raygun drops images of Lex alleging that Corp's husband does coke with Mr. Breast employees, which comically Raygun doesn't even mention. She just uses it as an example of Lex throwing friends under the bus by sharing private info. I don't even give a if someone does coke. It's just such a random stray to be caught from the situation. Raygun also provides evidence that Lex himself is a bit of a snake, having talked about attempting to expose JC alongside talking Z House members in DMs to his mods. Moving on, Raygun took the time to refute some claims that Lex brought up in his video from Raygun's ex-roommate Anna that I haven't addressed until now. Basically, Anna accused Raygun of unconsensually taking photos of Anna's and then selling them to dudes, which Raygun refutes by stating that Anna made it up and the situation more closely resembles Raygun introducing Anna to a guy who had been paying Raygun hundreds to on Snapchat. They then offered themselves as a package deal and supposedly sent non-images to the dude.
What are you screaming about, bro?
She uses an image of the group chat, which notably doesn't have the dude in it because he had left before Raygun took the screenshot. Bro, what?
Let's go away from the weight, buddy.
Because Raygun claims he left before she took the screenshot, and a photo of Raygun and Anna together in which you can supposedly see the chat visible on Anna's phone, alongside additionally videos of them together. According to Raygun, Anna was always a consenting 21-year-old adult, and shows evidence of Anna stating that they should reach back out to the dude, which Raygun claims Anna now regrets and is trying to put on her. The claim was already unverified and had no evidence, but Raygun still found something to respond to and seemingly disprove, which is interesting to me. Apparently, Anna and Raygun had lived together for 6 months, and this roommate, Anna, decided to reach out to Lex with this random claim and state that she related to him, having felt manipulated by Raygun. Now, what is crazy though is that Raygun displays evidence of Anna initially being on her side when the allegations came out. The last time Anna sent a message was on July 24th, and apparently Anna went to Lex with her claims on July 25th. But this screenshot does raise the question of why the they stopped talking initially. Clearly they were on good terms, but Raygun just kind of ghosts her, which seemingly led to Anna turning on her. I'm not even gonna bother going into Raygun ripping on Anna for the next 5 minutes about her cat and other shit, because it really isn't relevant other than painting Raygun in a good light and Anna in a bad one. When it comes to the physical claims, Raygun first addresses March 14th, 2021, the incident that occurred in the 12,000 Canadian dollar Airbnb. If you recall, Lex refuted this incident stating that Raygun went insane, destroying the property and proceeding to threaten Lex, which allegedly prompted him to restrain her. One of Lex's key pieces of evidence was in regards to Raygun's claim about how the argument started over weed, with Lex refuting this, stating that weed was not allowed in the Airbnb. Well, here is evidence Raygun provides of weed not just being in the Airbnb, but being consumed by the both of them together. Additionally, she plays a bunch of videos that were originally just screenshots, alongside stating that the screenshots Lex used were from throughout 2020 to 2023, and Lex manipulated them to look like they were referring to the later choking incident in 2023. This is because, according to Raygun, Lex does not even address the first choking incident that occurred in March of 2021. I mean, in my opinion, he did. He just called it restraining her. Raygun explains the wall damage as their chairs at their streaming setup scraping the walls when they would shuffle around. According to Raygun, the 12,000 Canadian dollar Airbnb receipt was actually for a 3-month stay that Lex had in an Airbnb. So the high price was not due to property damage, but due to the extended duration of his stay. As evidence, she cites a bunch of indiscriminate photos and videos that have no date or time attached. Thanks, Raygun. As previously established, Raygun's telling of the story has them fighting over a tray of weed that breaks, which she then throws at Lex's back, which prompts him to lunge at her, choking her out while sat on her. Well, Raygun also goes on to mention the fact that some of the crossed out text has been highlighted by Lex. She theorized the same as me, specifically that this is due to the idea that he initially thought this would be beneficial to his narrative, however later decided otherwise. Regardless of what he's obscuring, this obviously implies that he hasn't been entirely forthcoming with all of the information. When it comes to not having photos of a bruised neck, well, Raygun simply states that Lex did not choke her to the point of bruising her, which Yeah, I mean, fair enough, I guess. I can't even imagine the amount of pressure that you would need to apply to bruise someone's neck with your bare hands, but it's probably nearing on lethal. Her main point is that Lex did indeed cut off oxygen. However, I do have one major issue with her argument, and that is the fact that she used a AI summary as evidence. Just get that shit has provably been a load of nonsense and just aggregates the answers from the most search engine optimized smears of websites.
I was just physically abused by my boyfriend.
Anyway, the second alleged incident occurred at the end of the relationship in 2023. This is when the imaginary blackmail video was recorded. Raygun opens her defense by pointing out how odd Lex's defense to the situation was. He didn't defend himself from choking her, he just claimed that she staged the incident to blackmail him. I mean, that's Raygun's framing of it, but to be honest, as much as it's obviously not a particularly charitable phrasing, it's not too far from the truth. As much as Lex doesn't outright state that he chokes her, he does claim that she staged the incident to blackmail him, alongside stating that the alleged physical abuse she was putting him under during this instance prompted him to restrain her. When accounting for the fact that although the video does not exist as admitted by both parties, if Raygun was trying to stage an incident, wouldn't she have been recording? There's also the fact that Lex was still blackmailed by the concept of this video, implying that the alleged contents of the video did indeed occur. Raygun additionally provides evidence of Lex being apologetic for touching her and basically outright admitting to choking her by stating, "I've never done that to you, not the choking, the first thing." Here's how Raygun tells the story.
Lex then addresses the second time he choked me, but says it was staged. So in a sick, twisted way, Lex is actively admitting that yes, he choked me, but he's trying to manipulate it by saying it was staged. To even claim that I'd staged my own choking is ridiculous. Who wants to get choked by their neck? Who wants to be told by their 6'1" boyfriend that he is going to kill me as he's choking me? Who wants that? Who wants to be held over the edge of the bed by their neck being choked? As told in my own Google document, after I went through Lex's phone and found out he was texting other young girls, I confronted him and woke him up, telling him how wrong he was for going after these girls. I repeatedly asked Lex if I was not young enough anymore, and I repeatedly asked him why he was going after girls so young. Lex felt threatened by my words, and he knew that I saw him for he truly is. That is why Lex attacked me that night and threatened to end my life on the spot. Lex angrily woke up, pounced me again for the second time in my life, and hung my head off the edge of the bed. Lex shouted out, "I'm going to kill you," as he continued to hang my head off the bed, causing the blood to rush to my head faster, and he applied all of his weight on top of me. In the moment, I decided that the only way to get Lex off of me was by telling him that I was recording this. And I didn't just say, like, "I'm recording this." I said, "I'm recording this." It was very hard to get out. I will never forget the moment I stood up after Lex had choked me. I was foaming from the mouth. I could barely breathe. I was panting for air. My heart was beating so fast because Lex could have and was about to kill me that night. After I yelled out, "I'm recording this," Lex immediately got off of me because he knew he was doing something wrong. This is another night of my life that I will never ever forget. I will always regret not filing a police report. I will always regret not calling the police over when it happened. Unfortunately, my phone was not recording Lex choking me. I only said it because I knew it was the only way he'd get off of me.
Now, with the evidence that Raygun provides, I have no reason to doubt this story. Where Raygun loses my charitability is when she begins to analyze Lex's psyche. How is she supposed to know that in his mind, in that moment,
Lex felt threatened by my words, and he knew that I saw him for he truly is. That is why Lex attacked me that night and threatened to end my life on the spot.
Well, what the f is this argument she puts on screen when talking about how the women he dates need to know he is a? It's such a stretch to say that someone who damages an inanimate object would be willing to hurt a person that it's almost reductive to bring it up in my eyes. The evidence is bad enough. He is outright admitting to choking you in these DMs, and you have proven that he has manipulated his explanation of the situation. To then add a layer of fan fiction psychoanalysis just convolutes the narrative so much more than it needs to be when so little people are even willing to hear your side in the first place. Bear in mind, this choking claim is 57 minutes into the video. It took her half an hour to even begin addressing the claim of falsifying evidence. Most people who even watched the video had already tuned out by the 11-minute mark when she committed the crime of showing child material. This is shit that should have been touched upon within the first 5 minutes, even 30 seconds of the video. Your video, Raygun, is dealing with your serious allegation. It's not an entertainment commentary video like mine, in which it doesn't affect my personal well-being if you, the viewer, don't believe me or still hold some conclusion by the end of it. Regardless, Raygun goes on to refute ever physically Lex, declaring that he supposedly has no evidence of this. Additionally stating that she would never even attempt to physically fight Lex as she was fearful of him using his signature move and choking her. What, so we're just gonna forget about you biting his face? I suppose the biting incident did occur in the month before Lex unveiled his signature move, the lunging choke. Raygun additionally clarifies that she was never worried about Lex leaving her for other girls, she just didn't want him preying on younger girls. It really does seem like that she's trying to paint herself as a hero here, especially concerning this evidence. I highly doubt that she did not care if Lex went and got with other girls. This doubt of mine is almost immediately given credence. This is because she does directly address the evidence this time, that being the Instagram post of hers from 2019 when she was 18, complaining about her boyfriend being unfaithful. Raygun states that she posted this after she looked through Lex's phone, which he had not cleared, and found that he had been messaging girls behind her back for years. Despite this, she claims that Lex manipulated her into getting back with him, citing a post of hers from 2019. Raygun next addresses the extortion and blackmail claims. Wow, what a shocker. She says, "No you." Bizarrely, when first bringing it up, she says this.
Lex uses messages of me from 2023, last year, to try and spin his cheating on me. Lex is trying to make it seem like I was going to expose him for leaving me. The few text messages Lex decides to show are clearly not full images and they're clearly manipulated. You can tell so because of the occasional I message that's in between each text message. If you guys are not aware, when you delete messages from a while ago, instead of putting the date that the messages happened, they replace it with the word I message above the time differences.
I have 3 points when it comes to this statement. Number 1, what I'm going to say is child material. Number 2, what in the do you mean copyright reasons? You've already included a screenshot from Lex's video, which was technically transformed by Lex as it had a text edit over the top. For reference, here are the images she refuses to put in. I think she just doesn't want to include them because she knows how bad they look. The third point I have to make is, damn, she really does have an in-depth knowledge of covering your tracks and altering evidence. This kind of comes across as a self-report. Of course, if that is how iMessage works, she isn't lying. It does appear that Lex was obscuring something. I don't know, I don't own an iPhone. On another note, Raygun does not deny attempting to extort Lex. However, she does claim it was in retaliation for Lex blackmailing her, citing images of Lex saying he does not want to or isn't going to pay next month's rent. This is significant because not only was Lex housing her at the time, but supposedly both their names were on the paperwork. This is because they needed a social security number to get the property, which Lex does not have as he is a Canadian citizen. Look how oddly cut these pieces of evidence she uses to display that are though. What is important about this though is that it yet again alleges Lex was being dishonest, as he initially described the living situation as if Raygun just decided to suddenly take advantage of Lex getting a nice property. In regards to the aforementioned extortion DMs, I want to point out that one of them is from August 31st. That seems to be a really significant date for their relationship for whatever reason. What's interesting is, despite the fact that, yeah, that is a pretty bad thing to hold above someone's head, he does mention in that aforementioned August 31st DM that he is tight on money. If what Raygun is saying is true though, by far the worst examples are where he's blaming her for his actions, such as, "You are actually the worst human being on the planet, I'm gonna charge your wallet on Amazon." You can even see Lex stating that he is paying 6.5k a month for her living there, which is supposedly 65% of his earnings. But Lex himself stated in the messages that they would have to stick it out because if he canceled the lease agreement, then he claims that he would have to pay double the rent. So yeah, if that's true, then he never had any intention of kicking her out and simply held it above her head for months for his own benefit. I don't know if that necessarily justifies the extortion messages Raygun sent asking for a boob and nose job in exchange for deleting a supposedly imaginary video. I find it extremely interesting that she does not address the evidence of thousands of Lex's dollars being funneled into Raygun's PayPal, continuing to cite the and additionally a new bombshell allegation as the reason for Lex's money troubles. The new allegation comes in the form of a series of messages that are for some reason in the wrong order. Yeah, let me fix that. Okay, much better. In which Lex describes how he aped $1 million down the drain due to some crypto crash. Oh yeah, and apparently bro does actually manage to spend a considerable amount on OnlyFans. My mouth was agape when I first saw this, although despite how she presents it, it's hard to say how many of those charges are actually to do with OnlyFans. The few that are titled OnlyFans only consist of like $5 at a time. Regardless, I highly doubt that Raygun could have faked those bank statements or even those messages, considering her initial documents were so terribly formatted. Yes, it still pisses me off. I had to scroll through two 70-page documents a multitude of times, and half of those pages are blank. Also, her editing skills aren't exactly terrific, not that mine are fantastic. Anyway, Ray Gun also refutes Lex's claims of trying to escape the relationship, citing purchases of plane tickets in March of 2023, alongside messages of Lex talking about wanting to fly to see her. If you recall, Lex's story was that he was broke, could not afford a hotel, and subsequently had to stay with her when he traveled to go help her move and retrieve his stuff. Ray Gun further alleges that Lex wasn't just spending money on flying out to her. He also was renting out Airbnbs for 3 months at a time, like the aforementioned 12,000 Canadian dollar one. Random side note, but if you recall, Lex blamed Ray Gun for getting his YouTube hacked like a year ago. Well, Ray Gun alleges that Lex was being dishonest about that as well, as the evidence he cited was supposedly a screenshot of Ray Gun talking about her own laptop being hacked, which she then backed up with screenshots of Lex talking about himself being hacked. Actually, what is the point of lying about this? It's such a nothing burger of a claim that the harm of it potentially being proven false cannot have been worth it for Lex to put in. As mentioned in the Lex segment, Ray Gun's mother and Lex did indeed exchange DMs. Ray Gun alleges that Lex harassed her mother for a year, claiming that the statute of limitations in California is 5 years, and it has now exceeded that, with everything since being consensual, so they could not push anything legally. Supposedly, Lex continued this harassment even after Lex himself filed the cease and desist against Ray Gun. Lex would even blackmail her with blackmail charges, which I can't help but find extraordinarily funny as it is. Oh, and then of course Ray Gun went and showed more revenge child material. Really not doing herself any favors here, but despite this, she does show evidence of Lex harassing her mother about Alex of all things. Why? Alex is a random 13-year-old that you trauma dumped to. What the f does Ray Gun's mom have to do with that? Assuming these messages are real, this guy was actually going insane. He thought he was getting mass gang stalked on Twitter or something, when in reality people were just mad that he defended a zombie scam and subsequently looked at MrTLexify mentions on Twitter probably. I mean, it's possible that Ray Gun spoke to some of them, but once that ball is rolling, there's bound to be at least a couple people like me who see it and question it. Furthermore, Ray Gun outright claims otherwise, name-dropping Renzaru, one of the initial people to call out Lex that I spoke to. I should also point out that if you recall, Lex used these DMs of him allegedly harassing Ray Gun's mother as a defense for why he continued to be extorted, as he was fearful of the repercussions of Ray Gun's mother finding out. It makes no sense. One thing that Ray Gun touches upon in the video is why she deactivated her social media accounts. She shows the countless death threats, people telling her to kill herself, calling her a p, etc. I'm not even going to bother showing it because you really don't need to look far to find it. I think it goes without saying that this kind of behavior is despicable. You can reach out to someone on a public platform and criticize them for their actions, sure. But the moment you start harassing them or going at them for immutable characteristics, telling them to kill themselves, you've lost the plot. This segment of my video alone should display how you truly don't know the extent of a situation just from hearing one person's account of it. You at minimum have to hear out both sides, but even then you probably don't know what the f is going on. It is clear that the vitriol on the situation was indeed a factor behind Ray Gun deactivating accounts and subsequently making the documents near inaccessible for 2 weeks, as well as the fact that she deactivated comments on her video, which is just kind of sad because I don't think Lex should be in the clear as hard as he is. Granted, she could have just stuck it out and left that account up and then instead used her alt that isn't getting spammed with notifications to browse with, but I don't necessarily blame her, considering everyone thinks that she made the whole thing up. Ray Gun got suspended from Twitter as well, as seen by a statement on her alt and, well, looking at her account, probably due to some child material shit or people mass reporting her account. But anyway, it's time for the conclusion of this allegation. Why do you look so scared? The spotlight is on. The evidence Ray Gun presents alleges grooming, statutory and physical abuse. When speaking in regards to the grooming and statutory accusations, when considering for the fact that this is a high school age relationship with a 3-year age gap, specifically Lex claiming that the first time they had was when Ray Gun was 16 and Lex was 19, I don't believe this crosses into being unconsensual or illegal, just degenerate and odd. That is when speaking in regards to Canada's laws. If you recall, the first instance occurred in LA, where I'm pretty sure it would actually be illegal. I don't know. We'll just have to see what the court decides, as both of them have said that they're taking the legal route. The physical abuse claims are a lot more serious, considering Lex's main rebuttal for the first instance was that they did not allow within the premises when Ray Gun presented evidence of within the premises, and the property damage, which could have been caused by either party. It's extremely questionable, assuming Ray Gun isn't falsifying evidence, which at this point I don't think is the case. Regardless of what the court decides, if this response video from Ray Gun gets some more eyes on it, I'm almost certain that Lex is going to have to pull another quick revive out of his ass to beat the allegations in the public's eyes. I could be wrong, however, as it seems a lot of people have already made up their mind, and Raygun did not do herself any favors by 1, including child abuse material, and 2, being pretty manipulative on her own part. Overall, however, this is so many layers of screenshots being recontextualized alongside an ever-deepening he said, she said that it's hard to say what truly occurred. At this point, both parties have been confirmedly dishonest at some point throughout the allegation, so I think it's pretty safe to say that both MrTLexify and Pure Softy, aka Raygun, are at minimum weird as f. I wouldn't necessarily describe either of them as a at least yet, but they are both most certainly manipulative freaks. I mean, Raygun doesn't even acknowledge or attempt to defend her journal, in which she details lying about her age to an underage dude, subsequently f***ing him. And she's very clearly, at least emotionally, as displayed by her own evidence. Additionally, if Raygun genuinely thought that she had been victimized and statutorily by Lex, then I have no idea why she wouldn't just go to the police with it and instead lie about having evidence of being choked that she used to extort Lex for money. Even in the instance where you are shamelessly extorting your abuser, which, to be honest, kind of based, why in the f would you not just cite the actual abuse to blackmail them with and instead some made up video? Also, again, I have to ask, why did she put child abuse material in a video? My friend even said that it was in the thumbnail, which Nicholas Deletes Oreos also corroborates.
Straight away, I'm gonna say it, the initial version of this video was one that I could not recommend to anyone because it had child in the thumbnail. It was blurred, but it's child. It was on Reddit. If they embed the video, it showed up on Reddit. The Reddit moderators, I guess, only took it down eventually because it was being reposted. But for a while, if you scrolled through YouTube drama Reddit, you just see the thumbnail of the video. So yeah, that's not ideal, I would say. So it was a video that was uncoverable.
From my recollection, however, the thumbnail was just a still image from the video of her sat in her gaming chair. A similar sentiment goes for Lex though. If he genuinely believed that nothing he did was wrong, then why was he falsely depicting Dig Dug 7, Renzaru, or SPP's involvement in the situation? Or recontextualizing the claims of, say, Alex, aka Bearswa, stating that she never accused him of anything wrong, which is categorically false. Or, if you want to value what Raygun has presented, which at this point I'm inclined to, some of the more specific examples, such as Lex lying to his own mother about Raygun's age, or misrepresenting these themes of his relationship because it sounds better to be participating in it when it's not actually illegal. Or about the most shocking example, the minoring text. I mean, not only is the original text immaturity, which is already weird enough, but he attempted to claim that it was entirely fabricated, which surely is an admission of guilt if it is real like Raygun implies. The thing is, even if you look at Lex's claims in a vacuum, it still does not look great. Look, I have been a vulnerable young male in my past. You could even describe me as one right now. That does not mean I'm going to start dumping to 13-year-olds or trying to date a high school age girl who's 3 years younger than me, proceeding to lie about her age to anyone who inquires. There is also the major point that I don't think a single part of Lex's explanation for why he continued to be extorted and blackmailed by Raygun makes a lick of sense. I mean, Lex himself was clearly fearful of this choking video coming out or going to police, and he was extremely unclear about what restraining her meant. When paired with the fact that there is evidence from Raygun of Lex being apologetic for choking, touching, and getting physical with her, it seems as if there was violence in this relationship he hasn't been entirely truthful about. It's actually absurd to me that so many people unquestionably side with either of these people. I mean, I understand why. Lex is a big public face whose videos filled many viewers' childhoods and teenage years, while about 16,000 total people saw Raygun's second video. But it's still disappointing that until some big content creator covers this again, or miraculously, this very video gets a lot of attention, the large majority of people aren't going to look over the claims and evidence, and instead just draw their conclusions from some clip chimp TikTok as they do with everything else. I get it, search engine optimization and forced AI integration is oppressive right now, but information that hasn't been serialized or propagandized by some bot in both the figurative and literal sense is still out there, I promise. Anyway, if you skipped here from the TLDR, might I suggest you go back to the beginning and see how I came to this conclusion.
Ain't that swell? Does that mean we win?
I would be greatly relieved if that were so. I am in no hurry to ensnare my mortal soul.
That will not be necessary, Nikolai. The future has changed.
The Chronorium?
Read it. Learn of your true calling. You must keep your soul. It will be needed to defeat Dr. Monty.
Hello? I am still here. Wait!
I done? I honestly thought you were going to let me bleed to death. It was so sad. The cycle is broken, Herr Doctor. As such, insurance policies are no longer needed. I wish I could tell you I was sorry, Edward, but I'm not. No, you can help me.
Thank you for watching. Like or dislike the video depending on how you felt about it. Feel free to criticize me in the comments down below. Subscribe with the notification bell hit to be notified of my future uploads. And thank you to the 3 big dogs who generously paid for a membership. Jack Bradley, NoDoze, and Miss Fox McCoy. Anyways, there's still plenty of allegations left to talk about in the Nightmare blunt rotation. Oh, and I almost forgot. At the end of Lex's video, Lex ended up exposing
Noah cheated on Martina in 2021 at EDC. It boggles my mind that you would be supportive of a man who blatantly cheated on his wife for fun, yet would not share the same sentiment to me when I was obviously in an relationship that I could not escape from.
But that won't be in the next video. No, that'll probably be in the future. Next video, I'm probably going to be covering Just a Robot and the art commentary community.